wedged up. Today we're going to start with 4 pounds of clay, but they're going to be two entirely different types of clay, so that I can show you what the wedging process does to the clay as we work on it. Does anybody have any memory of the three things that wedging does for the clay? No?
Smooths
Okay.
it out and extrudes it.
Make it more maneuverable.
Plasticity, yeah. It makes it more plastic. Well, first of all, we blend it. Then we make it more plastic. And then we put it into a shape that works well on the wheel. So we're going to start with 2 pounds of totally white clay and 2 pounds of totally red clay. And we're going to end up with 4 pounds of perfectly pink clay. Without a lot of back-breaking labor and a lot of sweat. All right, so when you're using the scale, remember the red numbers, right? The red numbers are pounds. The black numbers are kilos. When you go to the wheel, when you go to wedge the first time, I want you to start with 4 pounds of clay, wedge it up, cut it in half, wedge it again, and go to the wheel with 2 pound pieces, two 2 pound pieces. That first 2 pound piece will not last long. You will want to go to the second 2 pound piece very quickly. When you're throwing, when you're learning how to throw, the main thing is to get as far as you can each attempt, and each attempt get a little bit further along in the process. In the beginning, your pieces will die, and when they die, don't spend any time trying to resuscitate them or save them, because you've got as far as you can with that piece. When they die, take it right off the wheel and try and get a little bit further with the next piece. All right? All right, so here we have 2 pieces of clay, white and brown. We have approximately 4 pounds, maybe a 10. All right, so here we are. The first part is blending the clay. And you could start wedging right away, but what potters learned a long time ago is if you have a cut wire and you cut and stack. All right, I had 2 layers, 1 brown, 1 white. How many layers do I have now? 4. Okay. How many layers do I have now?
8.
8, and so forth. If you do this 5 times, each of these layers that started off roughly an inch thick or more will, is this 3 or 4?
I got 16.
How many cuts did I make?
3.
3? Okay. We're going to go to 4. All right, and after you make the cuts, you want to compress the clay. Don't spend any time pounding on the clay to flatten it out. Let gravity do the work for you. Like that. That's 4. This is 5, right? Okay, so under normal circumstances, when you're not blending 2 extremely different types of clay, 5 cuts is enough. Because when you do 5 cuts, the original 2 halves are now down to these layers. Right? These layers started off being over an inch thick, and now they're down to less than 1/8 of an inch thick. If you have clay that's particularly nasty, needs more work, you do 5 more cuts, and you will see 1. Now, it's really, just remember, you are cutting and stacking, right? Not cutting and putting back together at the same cut length. That's 3, 4, see now that the white and the red clay have started to actually blend into each other. There are some distinct lines there, but once I start wedging, it will all be blended together. All right, so here is the wedging thing. Now the wedging thing is hard to learn because it's really unlike anything you've done. It looks kind of like a bread technique, but it's not a bread technique. You're not rolling stromboli or something like that. You are pushing clay, and as you push clay, it rolls around itself. But you're not rolling clay around itself. Okay? This is what it looks like. So what I'm doing here is I have gripped it on both sides. Palms are actually parallel to one another. Knuckles are forward. And my motion is like this, like that. It's not like this. I'm not punching the clay into the clay surface. I go down and then I go across. If you do this, and it starts rolling out, it's almost always because you have your hands on top. If you have your hands on top, it'll just roll out into a big sausage roll. Every time you do this motion, you go like this, come back up. Now what's happened in this motion, coming back up, is that the piece has walked a little bit towards me. So what I want to do is pick it up and place it forward and start at the same spot every time. And the question is always, how long do you have to do this? Well, for clay that's just right out of the, if you've cut it 5 times and stacked it, you really only have to wedge it for like 30 seconds to get it, to wedge the first part for about 30 seconds, then cut it in half and do the second part. This is extended because I'm trying to give you more images to see. So at some point when you're sick of it, you put your hands on top. This is when you put your hands on top. And you do short pushes and then get that nose to come back into the mass. What you want is this. You don't want a long skinny piece. You want a nice fat thick piece. All right, so wedging is very effective for blending clay, but cutting and stacking is more effective to get everything going. I could take those 2 pieces and wedge them and blend them, but it would take forever. So we'll take a look here. Now this wedging technique works very well for the outer 2/3 of the mass. It doesn't work that well for the inner third. And you can see that right here. You see, I still have some layers of white in the very center. The outer 2/3, pretty darn good. All right. So this is why, if you're really, really concerned about the consistency of your clay, this is why you wedge it twice. You guys do not have to wedge it twice if you're taking it right out of the bag. Okay. So we go together like this, and I'm going to do one more little trick here. All right, so here's some white clay right here. We're going to go like this. All right, now I'm going to show you how effective this wedging technique is for the outer third. Okay, here's some white clay right here, big hunk. Ooh. jawbreaker sized piece of white clay. So I'm going to stick it right there. Right now it's going down inside. Should be coming up any minute now. Where'd it go? Oh, it's already worked its way inside. Okay, sorry. We'll try it again. Oh, it's already blended out here. Okay. All right, there it comes. See, it comes up there. That's one rotation. Okay. 1, 2, 3. That's the 2 rotations. You can see it spreading out now. There's the 3rd rotation. And after it's been around 3 times, it just stretches out and disappears and blends in. So this is what you're doing when you're wedging. So we homogenized the clay, blended the clay by stacking, by taking these flat layers, a sandwich of this whole tall sandwich of flat layers and wrapping them around. Now we're plasticizing the clay. We're getting these flat layers to wrap around in the same direction that they're going to be stretched when you throw the piece. Then you actually wedge to make, at this point, all the plasticizing, all the blending has taken place. It's all done. All you need to do now is take each half and turn it into something, and look at the clay here. Totally blended. This is why preparation is so important.
Is it the same if you're throwing left-handed or right-handed?
The only difference is right now. I'll show you the difference. Okay? So now you have your 2 pieces that have all been stretched in this direction. Stretched in this direction. If you turn this piece this way and put it on the wheel, it would be stretched out. As the wheel is spinning this direction, it's stretched out in the same direction that it was wedged. So for right-handed people, after we do this next little thing, you put it on the left side. For left-handed people, you put it on the right side. Because you throw clockwise, right?
Yeah.
Put it on the right side. All right, so now we have these 2 little pieces. The only thing we need to do now is to make a nice little gumdrop shape. So you do just a little bit of wedging here. Make another little sausage roll. 4 right-handed people, put it on the left side. Don't get carried away with this banging down. All you really want is a flat enough surface so that you can end up with, you want it slightly taller than it is wide, and you want it round on the bottom.
Is this spiral going counterclockwise?
The spiral is going clockwise because the wheel is turning counterclockwise. So when the wheel spins, the clay is stretched in the direction that it was wedged. Got it? And I used to think I just invented that, but then, you remember a guy named Tim Mather? He teaches down at Cowdendale. He did a workshop and made the same claim, so there's 2 of us. All right, let's go over to the wheel.